I'm here today with Coach Ryan Dyer. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy, and so if we're interrupted, by the way, it's totally fine. And we probably will be, at least by DJ, who's also here today. So I know we're kind of dark with the bright background, but this is kind of a fun setting, I thought, with the good suggestion, Ryan.
Yeah.
So we've got some baseball going on in the background, which we'll talk about that too.
Love it.
But so first, if we could talk today about, so you're a PE teacher.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So how did you get into becoming a PE teacher?
So I came into PE teacher. I've just always loved, as a kid I loved playing sports. I was a three-sport athlete when I was in high school and went to college and played baseball. And then just the natural transition for me was to start coaching.
Okay.
And then if you want to, coach in any capacity, you usually start at the high school level. And so I found my path into the physical education world kind of through my coaching. So
Okay.
When school was over, college, I went back to get my teaching certification.
Okay.
And then started my teaching career about 16 years ago in Scottsdale, and I've been there ever since.
Oh, okay. So to be a PE teacher now, like what qualifications does somebody have to have?
Well, everything's been changing. It's with the last few years with the state and the requirements. So now you can pretty much get certified different ways if you complete your schooling and you have your teaching certification and you have your hours in PE. You can get your PE credential. They also these days will emergency certify people that are experts in the industry.
Okay.
So if you show, let's use PE as the example, that you are a former Major League Baseball player that has a teaching credential, you could be emergency certified to get to be able to be hired in that position as well anymore.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's some things that have been fluid and changing the last few years as they're trying to increase people get into the teaching industry.
Okay.
So it's been interesting.
Okay. But so so a bachelor's degree would be for sure, right? Like
Bachelor's degree for sure. You have to have your bachelor's degree, and then once you have that, even without a teaching certification, they have been emergency certifying people based on their qualifications and
Okay.
PE and other criteria, because there's hard to fill positions.
Wow.
The bad part for a PE teacher is typically PE is the one spot where there's very little supply and a very high demand for those jobs. So for a young aspiring PE teacher, I would suggest having all your credentials in place, having your credit hours, and anything that's sports related,
Okay.
and have that certification for PE.
Okay. So there is a need for PE teachers.
Well, there's a great need for PE teachers as far as qualified PE teachers, but again, the path to getting the PE jobs is difficult.
Okay.
Usually a young PE teacher would need to start in elementary PE and work their way up if they wanted to be in a high school or middle school type position.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so to get that certification, what does that mean? How do you get that?
So certification, so for instance, when I got my certification, I went through a secondary program. I did it through Ottawa University.
Okay.
So you go through, I believe it's 24 credit hours of classroom instructional programs that they put you through.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, you take a state certified test to get your credential and certification.
Okay, so 24 hours, that's like 2 semesters?
About 2 semesters worth.
Wow, okay, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's
So-
not too bad. It's
so
attainable
bachelor's in
within
another year?
a year to 16, 18 months. You can have that credential.
Oh, awesome.
Post-grad.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, like you said, so if you get that, the bachelor's degree and those credentials, you'd
You're
probably
good to
get
go.
a job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, again, elementary schools, you can find jobs quickly. Middle school, high school, it becomes a little bit more challenging, especially in Arizona, if this is the spot you want to be. High school jobs are coveted. They're hard to get. You typically need to be a coach on campus anymore. And so if you want to just be purely a PE teacher, you're going to have something on the side to make you more marketable.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are some of the best things about being a PE teacher? Would you say?
My favorite part about being a PE teacher is the interaction with the whole entire campus. Intro to PE is a requirement in Arizona. So as an
Okay.
intro to physical education teacher, every kid that comes through your school will go through your doors and through your gym.
Okay.
And so you get to know the whole campus. You're part of the community. You know the kids. You see them every day. And so it's kind of that watching them grow from a freshman to a senior. You really get that whole interaction with the kids, and I would say that's definitely my favorite part, is just being a part of the entire campus, knowing the community, and being ingrained in what they're doing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, what are some of the bad things about being a PE teacher?
Well, on the same token, every kid that comes through those gates comes through your classroom.
Okay.
You know, and there's different personalities, and learning how to, harness those personalities and have such the ability to differentiate your instruction from the lowest level learner to the highest level learner. Because in PE, there's not very many classes that are advanced PE, and so within for instance, a 45 student classroom, you're going to have every shape, walk of life student, and you've got to learn how to manage that and keep them interested and active and engaged, and that's a huge challenge.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
Can you give us some like, what do you do? How do you get kids who maybe are very out of shape, and then you probably have high level athletes
Absolutely.
in the same room?
And again, it's establishing early on. Kind of with the students, they need to understand early on that you recognize those differences in their abilities, and that you're there for every different level, and they know that you're going to have a different outline for each student for their progress. So, if you're doing a cardiovascular unit, you're running a mile, for instance. Let's just keep it very simple. You're going to go out to the track and you're going to time 45 different kids. You're going to have anything from a 5.5 minute mile to a 16-minute mile. Okay. And so how do you keep that student with the 16-minute mile engaged and feeling confident that they're going to keep working for you throughout the school year? And so what I typically do is I'll really spend a lot of time with those lower level, less fit athletes. Make sure they understand what goal we're trying to accomplish, and say you don't have to be, a world-class athlete right now. What I want you to do is just establish your goals and know what we're trying to get to at the end of the day, which is maybe we get that 16-minute mile down to a 14-minute mile, and here's how we're going to accomplish that. And kind of have that individual time with those kids, and it really pays off, because I've also seen the opposite, where it's easy for a teacher to focus primarily on the easy students, or the ones that love to do it, and then the rest of the students, by the end of the school year or the semester, they become disengaged and they stop trying. They feel not part of the process, and they won't change out anymore, and they don't want to participate. And so it's just early on establishing that rapport relationship and let everybody know that they're on their own individual timeline and program.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Do you have a favorite story of a favorite student, or best day on the job, or something like that?
Your best days on the jobs come sometimes are your worst days on the job. As I think about it, I've had the opportunity to work in high-income districts and schools and low-income schools, and kind of a student that pops out is a kid by the name of Daniel that was, come from an impoverished family, loves soccer, but didn't want to do well in school. He had no desire, to have good grades and to excel, because it was never something that was modeled for him at home. And so this kid Daniel, I remember he loved soccer, such a good soccer player, and so I took him under my wing and said, after the first quarter, when he had all F's in school and it wasn't changing out for PE, it was kind of, Daniel, what can we do to show you the path to success in all these classes? He's like, well, Coach, I love playing soccer, and so we talked about, well, how do you achieve the goal of making this soccer team here at this school, because it's one of the better soccer programs in Arizona. And so we talked about academics, and so without the 2.0 GPA and passing your classes, you can't play. And so he didn't really ever have anybody push him to that level that he had to pass these classes to be able to play. And so Daniel and I put together a plan. We went around to each one of his teachers and talked to them and said, hey, here's the goal. Daniel wants to be able to make the soccer team in the wintertime here. How can we change the path that he's on? It was kind of fun, because Daniel, who, if you saw him walk in, he was that typical kid that just had no interest. He was a tough kid, that just didn't care about academics. And then you saw that shift when all the teachers said, okay, Daniel, let's work together to, to get you on the soccer team this year and see what can happen. So lo and behold, he chipped away at it. By the time soccer tryouts came around, he was passing all of his classes, was able to try out for the team, made the team. Just seeing that glitter and that spark in his eye was phenomenal. He's a freshman this year, moving on. He passed all of his freshman classes, made the soccer team. I would say that's been my favorite moment. Just kind of stories like that that keep me motivated.
That's awesome, and what an impact.
Yeah,
really
it was pretty cool.
Ryan.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so do you think, like PE tends to be one of those subjects that gets cut in schools when there's
Yes.
budget troubles. So, do you think, is it legitimate, like somebody will get a job if they...
It's legitimate, you can get a job, but it's hard to keep that job consistent throughout the years.
Yeah, so tell me about you. What do you do?
Yeah, it's tough. So luckily for me, early on, I became certified in different areas. So I got my CTE certification. That allows me to teach CTE classes. So each year, the budget cuts when they hit, typically it's right at the PE, it's the specials. And they don't care who's in those positions, how qualified you are. It becomes a monetary decision. And so if you're able to have some flexibility in what you teach, it'll help keep that full-time job. And so some years you may have a half-time PE job, but you need to fill in for some type of a CTE course. If you have a business certification or a history certification, be able to have those alternate courses that you can teach to keep that full-time position in the subject that you love. And so I've taught 19 different preps in the 16 years I've been in Scottsdale. So anything from psychology, sociology, geography. I've taught computer basics. I did the journalism class. I did the school announcements.
Wow.
So you name it, I've done it to be able to stay full time as a PE teacher.
Oh my gosh.
And it's every year it's the same story. In Scottsdale, which you would think would be one of the most secure districts, they have to make hard choices, and typically it's in those special areas that they can do it. So you need to have that flexibility to move around and keep yourself marketable when the jobs aren't there.
Wow. Or you do coaching also on the side.
Or you do coaching, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. But it helps your administrators find those secondary jobs for you if you are coaching on campus or involved.
Right, yeah.
And that's so important, and that's the thing that schools really are looking for these days, are not just teachers that are there from 9 to 3. They want people that'll be involved in the community, be there after school, helping in after school programs, coaching sports, volunteering for community events, and those are little things that help keep you employed once you get in there.
Okay. So yeah, I guess if you don't mind talking about that, everybody has that stereotypical picture of a teacher that they, get the summers off, they work from 9 to 3, and then their weekends off, and
yeah, it doesn't work that way. That's kind of, we all thought that was going to be the case, but one, you don't make that much money, in the big scope of the world, so you have to have, you need to be engaged in the community. After school, you're going to have coaching, you're going to have clubs that you're active with, community events that you need to be at just to keep your job, and then at the same time, you want to have the nicer car, or you want to have a house that you buy, so you're going to have to supplement your income a lot of times if you're not fortunate enough to kind of maintain the lifestyle that you'd want if you were doing other professions.
Right.
Summers you don't have off necessarily. Most of the teachers will be engaged in professional development, at least for a few weeks out of the summer. Or do what I do is I improve on my craft by being around the baseball field all the time. I run events and tournaments and baseball fields. And this is that's how I started my business that I do now, which is a tournament business where we have 20 events a year. Over 1,000 teams come in to play from across the country. But it all started as I was developing my high school baseball program. I noticed that there wasn't the right programs in place for kids and coaches to kind of develop their kids in the environment that I felt was required to be successful. And so about 10 years ago I started just with a small 4-school league. I said, let's show up on Wednesdays and let's design it this way. And each year it got bigger and bigger. And so now, like I said, I run 20-some events a year, have about 1,000 teams compete, and that's what I do all summer. I mean, I'll be on these baseball fields from sun up to sundown for the next 4 or 5 weeks straight.
Okay. Gosh, yeah. So if people don't know, so we're at Riverview Park down in Mesa, and there's four games going on right now, just as we speak. So and so you're running this whole tournament basically. All these athletes are here because you're putting on this tournament.
Absolutely.
All that administration stuff, like you were saying, like getting umpires here, and somebody came up and asked for the cups for for them to have water and all that kind of stuff. So you handle all those details.
It's very similar to running a PE classroom. Because the kids come into your locker room and you think you're just going to go present this one lesson on volleyball that day, but then with your 45 kids coming in, you have all the issues of I forgot my shorts, or I can't work out today because I have a sprained ankle, or and then the class starts and there's just so many different things you got to deal with, hour by hour, and everything changes. You got to be flexible and you got to be expecting the unexpected, whether it be in the tournament business or in the classroom. They're all kind of one and the same. It's kind of funny how they all merge together.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. So just if somebody was interested in something like this, so you just basically started it on your own. You just started, like you said, you just started small. So kind of one of those things where it kind of just, I don't want to say fell in your lap, but it was something that you just came up with and it just grew and grew, right? So it's not like you ever said, I'm going to design this huge tournament with all of it, thousands of teams coming in.
It was 20 years in the making. I mean, since college, when I graduated, I'd always done, sports and athletics and organized teams and coached, and so I'd put all the time in to know what what you needed to do to develop baseball players specifically, and it wasn't being done to the way that I thought it should be done. And so I took all the connections and the people that I knew and slowly built it from a Ford.
So you found that niche.
Yeah, found that niche and kind of just grew it over the years, and I've been very fortunate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of putting you on the spot here, I always ask people, I love to ask this question. So outside of their career and that sort of thing, what would you recommend to somebody, like how to be happy? So Ryan doesn't know this because this question was coming.
So how to be happy as a PE teacher?
Just in general, like outside of your career, just like how to be a happy person on this planet.
I would say do what you love and be around the people that you love.
Okay.
And I think you surround yourself with people that are positive, and you just wake up every morning and make sure that you have a goal, and whatever that thing is that makes you tick, you go out and you do it. And the days that you wake up and you can't discover what that is, you really need to take a hard look and make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And so for me, I wake up every day, I love putting smiles on families and kids' faces, and whether it be my own twin boys that I have or any of these 600 kids that are here this weekend, that's what makes me happy, is seeing them enjoy what they do. I had people in my life when I was young that made sure that I enjoyed what I did. I was playing baseball with a smile on my face, or soccer or football. I had coaches in my life that were such positive influences, and so I've spent a career and a lifetime emulating that, and that's what makes me tick every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, anything we didn't cover that you can think of about anything, being a PE teacher, about this, about coaching, any of the above?
Yeah, it's just it's an industry of passion. If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to survive. There's so many ups and downs with teaching and coaching. Again, it can change hourly. Halfway through a class period, you thought everything was going great. When you have so many kids that you're managing, and administrators and different variables that you can't control, and there'll be a lot of bad days in a teaching career or a coaching career. So at the end of it, you really need to make sure this is something that you want to do, that you have that internal mechanism that's guiding you to this profession, because otherwise you're not going to survive, because as you said, it's not all glory days and happy moments. So you've got to be able to grind through those days where that principal you have doesn't see things the way you see them, or your students come and they're just not in the best mood, or things are tough at home, and you got to make sure that you're not taking it into the classroom. So and I think if you're passionate about it, you have that internal mechanism driving you, then you'll be successful.
Okay. If anybody wanted to, I imagine there's probably not shadowing opportunities in a school, right? That's probably not.
Shadowing?
Yeah.
No, absolutely there are.
Oh, there are?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important thing to do. At the school I'm working at now, actually, they have a program that they're partnered with ASU,
Oh, okay.
where students are coming over all the time and shadowing teachers.
Oh, really?
And it's
Awesome.
part of the partnership between ASU and the Scottsdale School Districts, where the teachers are coming
Okay.
and having that opportunity. So I would say spend some time in the classroom with teachers and be around it as much as you can, because there's a lot of things you'll see that you didn't expect. And the more you've seen it before you get into the profession, the more prepared you'll be when you get that first job.
Yeah.
Because the first few years are tough, and then you kind of find that groove, and then it becomes you're actually teaching and not just trying to survive. Yeah.
All right. So if people wanted to shadow you, or if they wanted to contact you, would that be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I'll put some contact info.
Yeah. Very cool.
Screen, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you, and good
Cool.
luck to all your students.
Thank you.